Hi and welcome to the January episode of the monthly vlog that I make here on the channel. I'm Andrea and I am the designer and the producer of all the patterns and content you see here on the channel and on the Yarnandy website. In this monthly vlog series, I share with you what I've been up to during the past month, any completed projects, works in progress, and plans for the next month or the year ahead in this case. So I invite you to pick up a project that you're working on and to join me while I show you what I've been up to during the month of January. We usually have a segment in the beginning where I read one of your comments from the previous episode, and I will do that now. On the last episode, Catherine Azevedo commented, "The caplet is gorgeous. I can't wait for the pattern to come out so I can make it." And she's talking about this one. And this pattern is currently in testing, so we will have about 1 month more of testing. And after that, the pattern should be out. So look out for that one. If you are subscribed to my emails, you will get an email when that pattern is finished testing and is ready for you to try it out. If you want a chance for your comment to be featured in the next vlog episode, make sure to leave a comment below and maybe I will read it next time. So we could start with finished projects for this month. I am wearing one. This is a sweater that is very similar to the one that I made a few years ago, and people have been asking for the pattern for it. This one is a bit worn out and I didn't know some things while making it, so I made a new one using some wool yarn this time, and I am writing up the pattern and we will be testing it, I think, during the summer so that it should be ready for publishing in September. I hope it will be. I made this entirely this month and I wrote up a blog post about the process and I keep updating it with any news as the project goes on. I also have the same thing with the Semper Vivum shawl where I share updates as the project progresses, and by project in this case I mean idea, sample, pattern, testing, and then publishing. So this whole thing is a project, and I am making updates along the way so that you can follow along if you are interested, or you can read at the end exactly how long it takes me to go from an idea to a finished pattern. This might also help designers who are new to the crochet designer aspect, so they can learn to have patience, because creating a pattern takes a lot of time and there are many steps that you have to go through to get from an idea to a finished pattern. Now about this sweater, just like the sport print sweater, this one also has modified drop sleeves. So as you can see, there is a shaping here at the underarm so that the drop sleeve doesn't go way too down on your arm as the sizes increase. There is a lace panel here on the top part of the front over the bust. So it starts when the sleeve armhole shaping starts, and the sleeves are straight, so there is no sleeve cap that goes into the armhole, which makes the sweater very comfortable to wear, and you can lift your arms very comfortably and do whatever you want. And one more thing that this pattern includes is the ribbing in all the places. You have the type of ribbing that includes Tunisian reverse purl stitches, which I demonstrated in a recent video tutorial. If you haven't seen that one, it's the previous video that I published here on the channel. It will be very useful for adding details like this to any project that you have in mind. And what I love about this particular ribbing is that it is a little bit elastic, so it's very comfortable. Just like for the sport print sweater, there will be 12 sizes, and Of course, I will make this size inclusive, but ideally you will choose the sleeve size and body size depending on your measurements and not just directly from the pattern. The good thing about modified or drop sleeves is that you can easily choose a combination of body size and sleeve size so that the sweater fits you the way you want it to fit. For example, in my case, after making the second sport print sweater, I realized that I prefer to have sleeves that have very little ease so that there is no extra fabric here at the underarm. I know some people like extra large armholes, but I prefer them to be just fitted. That's more comfortable to me. But the good news is that in this pattern, like in all my garment patterns, you will have the guide to choose your own modifications that you would like to make to the pattern so that the final project fits you perfectly. This sweater is extremely warm, and because it's made with Oran or worsted weight yarn, it's quite thick, so I am very warm right now. And this would be a good thing on a normal day, but today it's way too hot for me, so I'm gonna take it off. You may have seen this vest before. It's my second sample from this sweater. I tried to write up the pattern a year ago or more, and I ran out of yarn so I couldn't make the sleeves, and I didn't want to order more, so I left it as a vest. And there are some issues with it. The first thing is that I prefer to not have modified drop shoulder sleeves armhole shaping for vests because they're just not that pretty. So for a vest, you want the armhole to be a bit deeper to go up higher on your shoulder. This is mostly a design issue, and also I made the lace pattern go all the way down, and this makes the front of the vest very elastic. It might also be the yarn, but the front tends to scrunch up, and I don't like that, so I kept the lace only on the top part on the sweater. Now I can show you the whole thing. It has the same ribbing on the bottom like on the cuffs for the sleeves and the neckline. As you can see, there's a shaped neckline with the back being higher than the front, but there's still shaping on the back as well, and you have the shoulder shaping here. Of course, this is not a flat fabric because it has shaping here, and that makes it more comfortable to wear. So this project is about 1/4 finished, and I still need to write up instructions for all the sizes and then start testing. If you're interested in testing this sweater, I will send out a testing call probably during the summer, maybe June or July at the latest. Maybe June. Let's try to make it May or June so that there is enough time for everyone to make their own size. So I don't know if there will ever be a vest like this with the thick yarn, because I realized that actually I prefer working with the thinner yarn and a smaller hook because my hand hurts here if I work with the thicker hook. And that's maybe just anatomy because I'm hypermobile. Maybe it just hurts my hand, or I don't know, but I prefer working with thinner yarn and smaller hooks. I will show you this in a moment after I'm done with the finished project. Something else that I finished this month, if you remember this bandana, it's the Ostsee bandana, and now we have a knit version. This one is a lot more lacy and it's also tested, so I will have to take some cute photos of it and publish it soon. And I also made a new design, another bandana. This is Tunisian crochet. I actually had this pattern drawn up for a few months and I didn't make the sample until very recently. And there's also a knit one. You can see the lace better like this. So the Tunisian crochet one is tested already and I can publish it, but I also want to get this one tested, and I don't know who will test it because it's knit, but maybe if you know some knitters who are interested in such lace work, let them know that I would like some testers for future knit patterns. And because Valentine's Day is coming up, I also made a design with hearts, also for a bandana. I found the perfect yarn for it yesterday in our local post office, which is also a shop. So the post office is in the shop and they have some yarn. And this is the Tunisian crochet version that I made yesterday. I still need to add the tassel. And I will also make a knit version, which will not be perfectly the same, but it will be very similar. The hearts have to be a bit different because in Tunisian crochet you can stack eyelets, which you can't actually see very well, but in knitting you cannot stack eyelets, so I will find a solution for that. But I think it's not very obvious, but it works. You don't actually need to add a tassel if you want to wear the bandana like this. I think it would be okay. You don't have to wear it on your head. So I will try to make this pattern be ready very soon, so you can make one for Valentine's if you're into that holiday. This is the yarn I have. These bandanas are part of a, let's call it a series of patterns that I'm trying to make, with one version in Tunisian crochet and one version knit. And I have pairs of yarns with different colors. This is Cotton Kings from Hobby. Actually, it's not exactly the same color because they're two different yarns, but they're very similar and they have the same length. And one sample will be in Tunisian crochet, one knit, and they will have the same name. One name is in German, one name is in English, and they are all named based on C's, because the first bandana had a C name and there are so many C's, and I think it's a nice source of inspiration for names for things that you can wear on your head or around your neck while going to the seaside. So there will be a lot more designs, maybe more complicated like this one, or simpler like the other ones that I published last year, or the one with hearts. And if you're interested in that, I hope you give it a try. That's it for finished projects this month. I published one pattern, the marigold shawl. And if you're an email subscriber, you have a code that gives you 20% off the pattern price in my shop on Ravelry and on Etsy. The daisy shawl is incoming, and also this one where the pattern is finished. I just have to publish it. The pattern is also finished and tested for this peach cowl, and inspired by this I wanted to make a cowl with hearts, and I'm pretty much failing, but I'll show you anyway. So this is what I have so far. You can recognize it's the same type of edging from the peach cowl. You start from the bottom with this lace, and then you start making the motifs. But I frogged the hearts so many times until I found a solution, which I used for the bandana I just showed you. So I don't know if it's the yarn that is not showing the lace very well, but maybe it was just the pattern. So maybe now it will work better. We'll see. Worst case, there will be a dusty rose cowl in my future. I initially wanted to use this yarn to make a ribbing sample for the blog post about the Tunisian crochet ribbing, and then I realized that I wanted to use it for this lacy edge, so no go. So I made this stitch pattern to continue the multiple of 4 that is in the ribbing, and I used up 2 balls of yarn so far, and I have 2 more. This is called Tech Wool from Lana Grossa Basics, and it has 65% wool and 35% tencel, which is why it's so shiny. Here you can see it very well in the knit stitches. So this will also be a cowl that is seamed. You can of course work all of my cowl patterns in the round as well if you want to, with a double-ended hook. I have this one. And you would need 2 yarns to work at a time. I really don't like to use more than 1 ball of yarn at the same time because I tend to get them tangled, so I prefer to just seam up my projects. So this is a work in progress that I started a few days ago while writing up the blog post for the ribbing. But before that I had another project that I was working on also with lace, and this one you will not see very well. I don't know how well you can see the lace. The yarn is very thin and I used a big hook. It's a kind of mohair type style of yarn. It has some acrylic in it, but it's thicker than what you usually get for mohair, so it's not quite as thin, and it's very fluffy. And I wanted to make an infinity cowl, but I only had 4 balls of this yarn, and the reality is that even if I had enough length to make it double, to go around my head twice, I wouldn't wear it because I don't like infinity cowls and stuff like that. So I know someone asked for a design for one of them. You can make yours into an infinity cowl. You can seam up the stitches into a white tube and you can put it around your head like that. So the stitch pattern makes it so that the waves on the edges will compensate one for the other, and it will be a continuous loop. But I would not wear such a big cowl thing, especially as it's quite tall, as you can see. So if I have this scrunched up around my neck, this is good enough. So this is a stitch pattern that I created inspired by some knitting stitch patterns, but in knitting you can do a lot more with these increases and decreases to shape the fabric. In Tunisian crochet you can do some, but then you have to be very careful where you put your decreases. So you still get this kind of wave on the edge because there are more decreases here. Wait, there are more decreases on this side and more increases here. It's not as dramatic as I had expected. Still, it's a nice lacy fabric. So this one needs to be just seamed and written up and tested and then published. Maybe for the winter, next winter. I think I showed you this last month. So this is the back of a sweater and this is the front, which I had to undo and then move the stitch pattern by half a repeat so that the armhole shaping will be normal and not weird. And I haven't worked on it since I made this much. It still needs the upper part, so the armhole shaping and sleeves. Maybe next month I will share this with you. And yes, I want it to be a pattern, but too many things, too many patterns. Let's just make a few first and then we'll see. Another whip that I started in January and didn't make a lot of progress on is a woolen dress that I have been dreaming about. I made some sketches and started, I drew up a chart. It's a Colorwork chart, so you carry the yarn. I have 900 grams of this yarn in total. 100 grams is blue, so I can't use it. And I dyed some of this yarn with some leftover dye, so it made this nice orange color. And then I decided to make this project. This is the bottom of the dress. It will be like this. It is inspired by Romanian embroidery motifs, as many times before. And I don't have enough yarn to make the whole Colorwork section as I wanted to. So I had to dye another 100 grams of the yarn, and it's a different color, as you can see. But I will not frog all this work. Not because it's wool and it's sticky and it's difficult to frog, and I just don't want to. It was tough to work with because I told you about the big hooks. I'm using a 7mm hook for this one and it hurts my hands, so I want to be finished with it as quickly as possible. I think it looks quite nice from a distance. So I want a dress for maybe next winter because it will not get warm this winter if I finish it at all. And I wanted, if I have enough yarn, to add some lace here on the bottom. So this would be at around knee length, and then satin sleeve. So it will not be the same type of sleeve as I showed you with the sweater. It would be a dress sleeve, much prettier. If I have enough yarn to get there. I don't know if I'll have enough yarn to make sleeves as well. It depends. So the idea is to have an A-line skirt. This would decrease all the way to my waist. So it would go like this after the Colorwork part is finished. And I just realized while setting up for this vlog that I have a different wool yarn that is similar and it has the same weight, but it starts out as gray instead of this white. So maybe I could over dye another one of these into more orange, or maybe even this one, and then I can make the entire pattern repeat. This is an incomplete repeat, so it will be twice, and then once more. So I don't know if I'll have enough yarn to do that, but let's find out. So this is my big project. I don't know if there will be a pattern for this, if I'll have energy or the brain power to make it happen, but we'll see. I want to show you the back as well. So this is a back with floats, you carry the yarn for all the motifs, for all the stitches, and then you carry it back on the return pass, and you can lock it in place by twisting the yarns so that the floats aren't too long and so that they don't dangle on the back of the work. Let's hope that next month I can share some more progress with you, at least the whole pattern, because I really like what this looks like. So vote in the comments, should I over dye this with orange so I can get something similar to this, or more similar to this? Let me know what you think. One more whip that I want to show you is another caplet. There are stitch markers everywhere because I started using them to separate the pattern repeats, but then they're quite easy to see if you look at the fabric. And then I started using them to count my rows, and I have almost 50 rows now. It will be much longer when I block it, but for right now it is like this long. It's the same yarn that I used for the light blue one that I showed you in the beginning of this video, and it has a different stitch pattern obviously, but the same construction. So you have a number of repeating panels, and they will have a lace stitch pattern at the end, and I hope it works. I tried to make it so that the actual lace pattern creates the shaping on the edge, so let's hope that it will work. In terms of yarn consumption, this one is almost 1 ball of yarn, almost 500 meters, and then I have 1 more ball of yarn, so I hope that will be enough. But this one has 9 repeats, whereas the other caplet had 11 repeats, so that should be enough for me to make the edge, hopefully. After the other caplet is finished testing, I hope that we can start testing this one for anyone who's interested. And this one is also a continuation of my study of feathers and wings and stuff like that. And that reminds me that I should prepare Plumaria for publishing independently, because it has been more than 6 months since it was published in a magazine, and maybe you want to make it. And for the last work in progress, I should really work on this one to finish it soon so that I can send it to Berlin. This is my Semper Vivum shawl, the second sample. The first one is the green with orange one, this one here, and the yarn for this one is a custom gradient created by Sparwolle. I still have about half. What I really love about this yarn is that when each color changes, you have the entire color for a segment. So that usually doesn't happen in this type of gradient yarns where they switch out one of the 4 strands. And I really appreciate that they did that. Yeah. It's so difficult to find a gradient yarn where you have that. So I will probably design a rainbow next. That would be nice. But I have a lot of yarn, so not soon. The colors that I used for this are very similar in tone, and they go from light to dark. And I did that on purpose so that the gradient is as smooth as possible and that you don't see those bands that you usually see in gradient yarn that's built like this. You still have a little bit of banding, but not as much. So I can show you in this section, it's all one color. All the yarn is one color, and that's what I appreciate. So I'm almost finished this one. With this one, I still have to give it a few good hours. But testers are almost finished with theirs as well. Some have finished already. I'm very proud of them. They're very fast crocheters, or maybe I'm just distracted by my other whips. Still, I love what it's growing up as, and I wish I could keep it. But it's going to Berlin and it's going to be a shop sample there, and I hope a lot of people see it and love it for what it is. I think it's very pretty. So I don't know if I've told you, but I've kind of decided that I will continue to create patterns in regular crochet only for gradient shawls, and everything else that I want to design I will design in Tunisian crochet, because Tunisian crochet is underserved in terms of design. I mean, there are a few great designers that I follow and appreciate and recommend. If you want to find them, you can find a blog post on my website with 35 plus Tunisian crochet patterns for beginners, and you will find them all recommended in there. But there are still quite few designers who serve the Tunisian crochet community, and I want to concentrate on that. But of course I cannot quit regular crochet, because making these gradient shawls is just a lot of joy for me. It's like making puzzles, and I have so many ideas that I want to try, but I will limit myself to gradient shawls. I still have a lot of gradient yarn for that, and I also don't like working in gradient yarn that is cotton or cotton acrylic with Tunisian crochet, because I need to pull back on the working yarn a lot, because you need good tension, and that is annoying to me after a while. So I prefer this kind of yarn, mix of wool and stuff for Tunisian crochet, or round cotton yarn. So that's my news for January. The plan for 2024 is to grade, test, and publish 2 summer top patterns, which are these 2. A very basic simple one and one with lace. They will have the same shaping at the top, but they will have different patterns in the bottom. They're both made with the same weight of yarn, so that should work out decently well. Once I figure out the shaping for all the sizes, I should be able to use that for both patterns. Same thing with the sweater that I showed you in the beginning of this vlog. I also want to write up some of these patterns that are for shawls that are waiting and have been waiting for a year, some of them, or more. I have an asymmetrical sideways one, this one, the green one that I showed you in the previous vlog, which is a symmetrical one. I also have one caplet pattern that needs to be finished and tested, and I have a lot of ideas for bandanas, which I want to make into an ebook if I have enough. There will be one for Tunisian crochet, one for knitting, or we can have them together. I don't know, we'll see. What do you think? Should we have them together or separate? I also have, as you've seen, several more garments that I would like to turn into patterns. I don't know if that will happen. I don't want to jinx it, so I will not force myself to decide now. And there are also mosaic patterns that I've been working on. I just realized I forgot to show you one work in progress. This is another kitchen towel with mosaic in Tunisian crochet and cotton yarn. And I also have a big plan for a blanket. I don't know when it will happen, but we will see. The plan is to make it with mosaic, and I will not tell you any more than that I have the yarn for it, and I haven't swatched yet, so it's all just an idea and a sketch. That will be a very big project if I actually do it. I will make a project diary on the blog, and I will share updates as things go on. And if you like it, you can make one maybe next year if I finish it by the end of the year. So that's the big project. And if I can, it would be nice to finish some vests, because I want to have stuff to wear for next winter. I'm not a big person on summer wear, but yeah, I have these two and I hope to wear them this summer. But I go cold, so mostly I am going to work on winter stuff. There are some more cowl patterns. As you can see, I can't stop making them, and I have to start publishing them, not just coming up with the ideas and making the samples. So maybe I should start writing project diaries for all of them just to get them finished. More plans. I have a plan to make a design for gloves in the round, so they should have fingers as well, in Tunisian crochet. I have the yarn for it. I have the motivation to make 2 pairs, so one for me, one for my husband, and hopefully they will be done by September so we can test them before the cold comes. I have to show you the yarn, it's so pretty. It's the same type of yarn that I used for the peach cowl. It has this, it's quite short gradient. This is a dark red to purple, and this is a green to green. This is for my husband, and this is for my own gloves. And it's called Strumpfwolle from Wolle Rödel here in Germany. I bought it from a local yarn shop in Karlsruhe. This was my souvenir yarn for our trip to that city. So this will be towards the end of the year, because I already have a pair of gloves that I'm using, and one plan is to write that up as well and get it finished. So it's a lot of patterns to finish until the end of the year, and if I get all of that stuff done, I will be very happy. If I make extra stuff, I will also be happy, but I want to finish these things so that there is a nice core of essentials in the pattern shop, so that if you need something, you will find a pattern for it. That's the plan anyway, and it's a long-term plan as well. So now I will go hug some yarn, and I hope you had fun watching all of the stuff that I've made or started making during the past month. Please let me know in the comments what you're working on right now. If you have any favorites from what I showed you in this video. If you have any plans for the rest of the year in terms of projects. And I wish you a nice end of winter or summer, depending where you're watching from. And I will see you at the end of February with a new vlog. And in between, of course, with more tutorials, but that's to be seen. So I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!